Now is the time. A time you'll look back on. A time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time. This moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome. Take over. The time is now.
Hey, we're back. We're back again. Woo-hoo. And Pete made it back once more from the game. Fair play, Pete. Well done.
I tell you what, Martin's already gone ahead of me before we went live. The things I had to do to get back on time for this today.
Yeah.
Love it.
Tailwind from Storm Eunice.
Of course, of course.
Just to prove Pete was at the game, here he is. So there he is, the hooligan himself.
Hasn't changed much from last season.
I tell you what, there were a couple of other pictures where I looked a lot more aggressive, and I thought it was probably best not to put them on there. I've got to be honest.
Before we get into the game, and people might notice my delay is back, the 1 second delay. But a few more people that were at the game. Just noticeable snaps I saw. There was no war flags today. We were playing away, but there was these guys, and fair play to them. Dan Byrne baby, loved that, and even loved the shirts even more. Where can I get those shirts?
Yeah, fair class. I want one of them.
And I also spotted on Twitter the lads enjoyed a few 7-Ups on the way home on the train as well. So they had a good day out. That's the main thing.
I wish I was 14 again.
And of course, a few more people on the train enjoying themselves. A few cats made an appearance. You can see them in the background. You probably saw them, Pete, yeah?
Yeah, the amount of them that flew past my head on a regular basis throughout the game was unreal. But actually, there were more. There were more of them. The ones that went into the away end, obviously holding them or having them up above their head, the stewards were ordered to take them off them and deflate them because they didn't want them in there. So people were having to kind of like to put them down, stick them under their tops, and then when they got into the stands, then blow them up at that point. That was the only reason why we had so many on view. I don't know how often it cut to that in the during on TV, but yeah, there were a lot more that got taken off. The stewards were like walking around with like loads of them in their hands, like literally like just walking like this because they were obviously ordered to take them away.
Spoil sports.
Yeah.
And of course, Jamie and Mary were there. I think I saw Amanda on TV at a distance as well, so she was there as well. And yeah, so let's get into it. The breaking news, I guess, right before the game. I know Jordan broke it, and I know Burnsy had it out as well about ASM not being available for the game. So in came Murphy. So yeah, I guess at that stage, lads, what was your thoughts? Because yesterday we were kind of saying we were kind of had it pretty much all down as a draw. I know Pete, you had gone for the win. Chris had said defeat, didn't he, or something? Yeah. So did it change your mind as to how the game will go for us?
I thought it would. Look, we could have done with ASM. I thought for a little while I thought that he might have gone with Bruno to start, but I think once I kind of sat back for a few minutes, I kind of whacked up onto it and I went, wouldn't be surprised if he starts Murphy, which I think was the logical, from Howe's point of view, of starting Murphy before Bruno. I think obviously Bruno is still settling in. But man, I didn't think Murphy had a good game, to be fair. I thought he was a bit kind of pointless. He had some good opportunities to again play some decent ball into the final third and didn't. But look, there was enough there. I mean, match-wise, even with what we had, I thought we had enough to win it because we've a good record against West Ham, home and away. So I thought we'd do okay. I mean, if you'd have gone pre-kickoff and then known ASM was out, I'd have taken the point all day long. Listen, a point away from home is a good point. You know, six on the bounce now. We've not lost. So look, I think for me, you know, that West Ham are a good team. Let's not hide that fact. They're a really good team. They're having a cracking season. Moyes has got them ticking. They're you know, Champions League contenders at this stage. They've got a good team. Antonio, you know, always does well against us. He's a real bully. You know, he kind of bet the shit out of Kraft. But I still thought we had enough. But yeah, disappointing. I don't get the ASM bit. From what I know, he trained all week. But apparently, then Eddie Howe said he got kicked. He got kicked against Villa. So I don't know. There seems to be a bit more than that. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Pete, what do you think? It just seemed a bit weird. The fact he's trained all week. I just don't get it.
Well, it was interesting because on Sunday he was hobbling around a little bit, and watching the game back, Gary Neville alluded to the fact that he'd been hobbling just after half-time. Actually, just after Trippier went off, and there was a little bit of worry there. But he plays the rest of the game, and he seemed okay. The only thing I'll add to that is that whether we believe him or not, it's people's opinions. But Luke Edwards had tweeted out and basically said he was aware that ASM had a calf problem on the Sunday after the game, and was told from his point of view that he would be rested this weekend in order to make the Brentford game, and he was expecting that he'd be back against Brentford. So that's kind of the alternative view from another journalist. Obviously, we know Jordan very well. They've said 2 to 3 weeks, but that maybe explains Alan Saint-Maximin training throughout the week, maybe still feeling that it's a little bit tight, and Eddie Howe making a judgment call as in to say, you know what, let's not risk him for this game, but let's get him ready for the Brentford game, which now is a massive, massive game and could literally flip both teams' seasons on their head, provided we get a result. So from that point of view, if that is the case, and that he has been kind of saved this weekend in order to play on next Saturday against Brentford, then I'll take that all day long.
Richie, same question to you, but I'm going to give you another picture to work with here as well. This is ASM's successful take-ons, so he's way ahead of the rest in terms of that. So if he is out for a bit longer than just this game, or the 2 to 3 weeks, which I think Jordan had in his initial tweet, what do you make? How are we going to be able to handle it?
I think the lads did well today without him, but I think it was highlighted that we haven't really got a backup to any of the wingers. I agree with Mart. I thought, Murphy did a lot of running, but there wasn't much quality at the end of it. I think there was quite a few chances where he had a heavy touch or his final ball was poor, and that seemed to be everywhere in the final third. To be fair, I think the one time we really put the ball into the 6-yard box and we scored from it, which proves it can be done. And Fraser's been great with that the last few games, especially since the turn of the year. So I hope ASM is back next week, because as I said, we don't really have a replacement for him. I know we've got nobody in the team who's like him and that mercurial talent that he is, but we haven't got anybody as a even as a standout backup for him either. That's a winger, outstanding winger. You could possibly put Miggy on there. He's got the pace, but he's not an out-and-out winger, as we know.
Exactly, Rich. Okay, let's get into the game. And just refer to my notes. Decent start from us. A really good start, actually. We've got a few corners and there's a few shots blocked. Kraft was looking dodgy at times. A few good recovery from Targett as well at different stages. The fullbacks are playing high up. Again, I suppose that's just Eddie Howe's style. Byrne was solid as always, blocking everything, heading everything, making use of it when he did. Then it came to the goal, the West Ham goal. Kraft got a yellow card for the tackle he brought. I can't remember who he brought down, but was it Antonio? Yeah, he brought down Antonio, and free kick in, and the header from Dawson. So lads, the goal we conceded. What's your thoughts? If you have to pin the blame on one person or a few, who's at fault here for this one?
Kraft. End of. Stupid foul. It was a stupid foul to give away corner of the box. Like we were all chatting in the on the chat, the WhatsApp, and as soon as he went in for it, it was just clumsy. Like West Ham played decent ball into the box. Dawson only scored last week. Like, same ball, they go in, they attack it. They're great at putting the ball in the box there from Cresswell. He's a great delivery of the ball. It was a stupid foul from Kraft. And if you look at some of the goals we do concede, and I think, Pete, we were talking about this just the other week, we create our own problems. 9 times out of 10 in defence, we create our own issues by giving stupid fouls away near the goal line and near the back line. And we keep doing it. And there was nobody else at fault for that goal. Okay, defensively, probably, and the guy said it on the match, Joe Linton was probably the only one that was actually facing the right way to defend the ball coming into the box. Chris Wood was out of place. Dan Burn, unfortunately, wasn't looking at it. There was a massive gap between him and Chris Wood. And in fairness, Dawson left his marker, ran straight through the middle of the gap, and he put himself in an area where you throw a body at it. And he quite rightly scored. It was a great goal. But we shouldn't have conceded the free kick. It was a stupid attempt at a tackle from Kraft. So it was his fault, ultimately, for me. Sorry.
Pete, your thoughts?
It's I think Mark's right. It's Kraft at that point was struggling big time. He was really, really struggling down that right-hand side, and it was becoming a problem. I'll talk about Kraft in particular in a second, but in isolation, the goal, it looked like a lack of understanding from Joe Linton, Dan Burn and Chris Woods in terms of who they were marking. And Dawson is just kind of ran straight across all of them to get in on the near post. And the biggest frustration about that situation is that's the only chance that we conceded to them in the whole of the 95 minutes. It's the only really clear-cut chance that we conceded to them, and we got punished from it. And that's the frustrating thing, because other than that, they created bobble. Dubravka's had hardly anything to do, next to nothing, less than even Villa last week, which says a lot in that game. So that is frustrating from that point of view. But look, this is the Premier League, and if you don't switch on, at all times, you can get punished. Because that was the only way that West Ham were going to score today was through a set piece. In game, we had them nailed down. We had them managed absolutely perfectly. In isolation with Kraft, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I noticed it after about 10, 15 minutes in, just as he started to have his real difficult period. In that for about 10 or 20 minutes in that first half, the rest of the team avoided at all costs to give Kraft the ball. He was in positions tight wide, pretty much on the centre line, so halfway line. He was out wide. He was in the position. He was where he needed to be. He would have been acres of space. The players would look at him, look up, and turn and switch the ball the opposite end. They avoided him like at all costs because they clearly did not trust him in that game. Now, we talked about getting behind him and blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. And as fans, we should get behind all our players that step out on the pitch. But that for me, and I noticed it, and I said to the couple of lads who I was standing with, I said, that's not good. If your fellow players don't trust you to give you the ball, that is not a good sign. And he was really, really struggling at that point, which caused the free kicks. It was a panic. It was a panic tackle.
Pete, for two things. One is I didn't notice that about Kraft. I saw, in our WhatsApp chat, I saw you saying that, and I said, that didn't come across on TV that the players weren't passing to Kraft, but he was bombing on the wing and he got to try to get a few crosses. Actually, every cross that went in, not just from Kraft, was overhit. But Richie, before I switch back on you, the same question, but I want to throw another player under the bus for the goal, and it's Murphy. And I know Chris Hall kind of was handing it to the blame to Murphy, but I suppose he ran into a bit of traffic when he was he was marking Dawson, but he ran into a bit of traffic and then lost him. What's your thoughts? Would you blame Murphy at all, or who are you going to blame?
Just finished on Pete's point. After actually looking back in hindsight about the avoiding Kraft. I remember looking back at that, especially towards the end of the first half. Shaw was getting a lot of the ball to the right-hand side, and he was going right next to the touchline, and he was tending to either go back to Dan Burn or he was trying to go into the midfield or long for Fraser or Wood. Pete's right, they were ignoring Kraft. I think we said in the chat, as soon as that gave that free kick away, his head went for the rest of that first half. He just bottled it, basically. Going back to your question about Murphy being at fault, I think it was a bit of a combination about Murphy and Wood, to be fair. As Mark touched on originally on on BT Sport, apart from Joe Linton, there was the body shape of Shaw, Byrne and Wood was all literally facing the free kick. They were on an angle so you could see where any runs were coming from, where Joe Linton was. So they didn't know where the runs were coming from. I think Murphy was there really as, I think initially to make a block, so he would block the run. However, Dawson just literally breezed past him. He tried to get there and then didn't, and then it got blocked off by his own man. But then because Wood, Shaw and Byrne hadn't noticed where the run was coming from, there was that huge gap between Shaw and Wood. And he just literally, it was like a hot knife through butter. It just was so easy for him to get through. And Dan Byrne, to be fair, did as much as he could to try and get across to put the block in, but obviously he was covering from someone else. So to be fair, I think it's a bit of a combination of the two between Murphy and Wood. It was bad defending. I think apart from that, I think the only chance that we gave them in the whole game was the Bowen shot, which Dubravka tipped on at the bar near the start of the first half. I think that was pretty much it. For the first half, but I think the Newcastle performance was buoyed by the start, where even Declan Rice looked a bit nervous and Joe Linton nearly pounced in the first minute, and we got the corner. I think that set the tone for the rest of the game.
That's all, Rich. Let's get on to the more positive stuff and of our goal. And I've been saying for at least 2 weeks now that Willock is improving, and I did put him down for last week scoring against Villa. That didn't happen, but he had another brilliant game. Today he broke his duck and he's back scoring goals for us. So come on, you Maggies! So what did you make of the goal? Because it was a bit of if I remember, Murphy was kind of down the wing, and then Fraser got a kind of a chip up on it, and then it just about crossed the line for Willock's shot. So Martin, we'll go to you first on the goal.
Do you know what? I thought first half he was the best player on the pitch by a long shot. Again, the guys on the commentary on BT, as much as it was bad commentary, made a really good point. I thought his finish was actually probably one of the best finishes and probably one of the more technical, harder finishes. And somebody made a good point, which was if that had been Dennis Bergkamp, pundits would have been wetting themselves over it. To get into the position he did, to just get the boot to it and guide it into that corner was top class. But he's coming back. Like I last few weeks, like I said, I wasn't sure. I wanted to see the form from him. Last week he got a fair bit of stick. A few people that said he didn't have a good game got a lot of stick. But do you know what? He is coming back, and I think that today was probably by far the old Joe Willock. He was commanding. He bossed midfield, gut busting runs up the pitch. He drove us forward. He was a pain in the backside to the West Ham defence. he was our best player by 1,000 miles. He was top class today. Deserved his goal. Excellent work rate. Well done, Joe Willock. I hope he carries that form into the next few games because we need him at the minute. So yeah, he was brilliant. That was a great goal. Great goal.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He had no right whatsoever.
He's frozen. He's gone. He's gone.
He's frozen. I'll carry on. Look, I think you're absolutely right, Mark. Joe Willock was the best player on the pitch for that whole 45 minutes of that first half. Like, hands down, he was the outstanding player on that pitch. The driving forward, the taking command of the ball, really trying to push the players up the pitch, whether he got taken down for a free kick or whether he managed to find a man and keep hold of possession. He was doing everything right. For the goal, he had no right whatsoever to get on the end of that. He had no right to. And normally it's just kind of to get a hold of it, just to stop it from going anywhere, and it might trickle out for a goal kick. The fact that he's at an impossible angle, the angle at which he scored, from which he's connected to the ball, he's had to literally hit it sideways and not just get it past two defenders, but get it past the goalkeeper into the far corner. It's a fantastic finish, and it's such an underrated finish because, he was second to the ball anyway. He then gets there first and then beats the keeper and into the far post. Yeah. Fantastic finish. And it's
if that had been Salah or Harry Kane or De Bruyne or any of those players, you'd see it on Sky Sports News for the next 2 days, over and over and over.
Definitely.
But I think the other thing, Pete, for me, wasn't just the finish. I think what I enjoyed more about it was his thought process was 2 steps ahead of everybody today. And for that goal, he was on his toes, and even before the ball had dropped, he was on it, and he was two yards ahead of the West Ham defenders. And to be fair, Cresswell, Dawson, the cat kicker, they're decent defenders. So for him to be that 2 yards in front, quicker reaction, and the mindset to know where he was going to do that. He's a class footballer. He's a class footballer.
And like you said, he's just starting to now find his form again. Like, his performances in game have been there for the last couple of games. Now he's put an in-game performance in as well as a goal. And I was chatting to somebody. Like, just in the stands. And we what we were talking about is, and this is it's obviously early days, but if you look at the pool in which England have of England's centre midfielders, we don't have many. Calvin Phillips hasn't played for God knows how long. Henderson can barely kick the ball without pulling a hamstring at the moment. You've got Declan Rice, who in my opinion, he outplayed today. If he can put consistent performances in like this between now and the end of the season, there is no reason why Joe Willock doesn't get called up for England, in my opinion. But he has to keep putting in performances like
he's got to keep the consistency for me, Pete. He can't have a game like today and then ebb off against Brentford. Yeah. He's got to be at it for the 90 minutes. But I think the other thing I've noticed with Willock is, I think if I look at him in today's game compared to start of the season, there was obviously an issue with his fitness, because he looked way fitter the last 2-3 games, and today at a peak, than he did. He looks like he's lost a little bit of weight again. So I don't know if he just had a particularly, happy off season, having come off the back of a really good back end of the season, 7-8 games with the goals. Yeah, he COVID. So, maybe he to look, give the kid credit. He looked fit today. He looked well up for it. And he looked at a peak. And I think, if we can continue to get that from him in that midfield, I tell you, for Eddie Howe, it makes things difficult, because where do you put Bruno in amongst that, with that midfield three ticking the way they are? It's a bit of a nightmare for him, because that lad's not going to want to sit on the bench at 40 million either.
No, you're right.
But it's a nice thing to have if you're Eddie Howe, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, lads, I had to drop off there. My connection went. But Richard, did you get your say yet?
No. To be fair, I think the lads have said all I need to say. I think it was Good build-up play down the left-hand side. Fraser laid it out to Murphy. Murphy put pretty much a 1-2. Really, it was a great ball in by Fraser, who I thought ran his socks off again today. I thought he was phenomenal. We said that when he returned to form, we said a while ago when Steve Bruce, when he hits form, it'll be like a new signing for us. And I'd completely back up what we said all along from when we actually started doing this show last year. He's been a revelation recently, and to be fair, Willock, he's been the same recently as well. And we mentioned in chat today that confidence is a key thing, and you could see he hadn't had confidence in recent weeks. But since it was the same as with Fraser, this turn of the year's come along, and his confidence has been through the roof. And I think the one thing that Willock's been missing for the last, the performance has been decent, was a goal. And it might be where the turn around and say, yeah, he's had better chances and stuff like that, and he might turn around to go down as a scrappy goal, but you have to make that run, get between the two defenders. And as Pete pointed out, it's from an acute angle, but it's a fantastic finish to get that. That had to be so precise, and to get it just inside of the post as well was fantastic. But I think the one thing that I thought was key today for the performance was, we actually dominated the game from start to finish. Now 53% possession. We never ever tend to have possession over 50% and that was away at a team pushing for a top 4 place, go for Champions League place. You would if you were a neutral and didn't know what the history, what was going on this season, you could possibly think Newcastle were the team pushing for the top 4, not West Ham after today's performance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So then we got to halftime, and as we were at halftime, it's time to remind you to hit that subscribe button, that small red button, the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you're keen to be a member and join us Unloaded, it's $1.99 a month. And as Jeff pointed out last night, $1.99 a month is a great price to abuse Chris when he joins us. The odd day he joins us. So become a member. We love to see new members, and there's loads of draws because we've got 3 sponsors now. We have blackandwhitearmy.com, Bronwyn's store, and of course Bronwyn will be back on with us again to hear about the new range that she will launch when it launches. Yeah, we must correct that picture, that blurry picture. We also have.
Thank God you said that was blurry. I was going to say I've got my glasses on, but even I can't see that. So we've got that.
We've got Shy Barnes and Simon, who likes to take the piss out of me and my hair.
He's in the chat tonight. Yeah. Hope you're well, Simon.
Simon, and he's a range of merchandise as well. We could change these pictures up as well because he's got loads more stuff than that. And we've got pins and prints. And you'll see at the bottom the 10% discount. Use the code LOADEDMAG on checkout, and they have a range of stuff as well. I know Richie gave us a good description of them last night, so I won't go into it again. I'll just flash a few pictures up. But check that out, and tell Dean that we sent you there.
Can I just give a shout out? I must give a shout out to my good friend Mr. Rich Story, who via Pins and Prints sent me a lovely Pins and Prints, the Shearer one, which I am getting framed as we currently speak, and will go pride of place behind my bar. So thanks, Rich, and thanks to the lads in Pins and Print. That will take pride of place in my bar at some point next week when I get the frameage back. So thanks very much. Cheers, Rich. Much appreciated. Very nice gesture. Thank you.
Nice one, Rich. Ours should be arriving any day, Pete.
The lads haven't got a bar.
Oh, we need a bar first. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, look at I'm gonna go
setting the bar.
Let's go into the second half. Look at all I remember about the second half is that both sides were desperately poor in the final third. We see what else we remember from it. Yeah, Shelby was kind of controlling play. Jolinton was busting through. Got a few runs in the absence of ASM. It was nice to see him doing a job there. Targett was another great game. But what's your thoughts on the second half? Anthony, you want to say on the second half, lads?
There weren't. Look, either team. I still think we had enough to win it. I think if we'd had a finisher, and that's no disrespect to Chris Wood, and I know people are still knocking Chris Wood, going, he's not scoring goals, and Daz, you've said, he's not going to score ever for NUFC, but hopefully we get that proved wrong. Cheers, Andy, mate. Well done, pal.
He put in a shift mark, though. Yeah,
he's so pivotal to with the way that Eddie Howe has them playing. He's just like a battering ram, and he puts off the defenses. And do you know what? If we stay up, he doesn't score, but he keeps putting a shift in like he's doing now. And okay, you can talk about how much he cost. I'll be as happy out with the performance he's putting in, because the lad is putting in a shift. He's putting in graft. He's getting in amongst defenders. And to be fair, barring probably a couple of the balls today which went over his head, the service into him has been absolutely fucking woeful. So, it's got to be quick, whipped, pacey ball into that. Ideally, what you want is the ball like Sir Cresswell put in. That's the kind of ball Chris Wood survives on. That's what he deals with. So second half, look, both teams were pretty poor in the final third. I thought we shaded it. But yeah, I think with a finisher, if we'd have had a Wilson there or maybe an ASM, I think we would have won that game. I think we were coming away from the London Stadium with 3 points, in my opinion. But Pete was there; he was watching it live, so I don't know. He might tell you otherwise, but
for me, it was kind of a tale of two halves. So I talked about Willock being the best player on the pitch for that first 45 minutes. For the second 45 minutes, for me, Big Dan Burn, the Blythe Bonucci, he is the man. Honestly, Dan Burn was outstanding that second half. He is a proper defender, and you know what he's doing? He's making Fabian Schär also a proper defender. Those two defenders were fantastic for us today, right? The amount of last-ditch blocks that Dan Burn was making, when they only created half chances, he was there, bang, he was getting into everything. He was getting his body in front of the ball. There was one where Bowen, the ball went to the back post and Bowen was there and it looked like he was going to cut inside and shoot. And just Dan Burn just kind of just eased him away from goal and then just blocked the shot. He was fantastic. He was so good that second half. And he was a big reason why we didn't concede another goal. But it was the way he controlled the tempo. He controlled the tempo with the ball at his feet. So when we needed a rest, when we'd been busting a gut down both wings, it was just a case of, right, let's hold the ball.
Bit of keep ball.
Hold the ball. Antonio wasn't pressing and we called it in the stands. 65 minutes. Antonio does this every week, right? If he's been made to work, which we made him do in the first half, he was made to press more than he wanted to in the first half. So by 65, 70 minutes, he was shot and he didn't want to press. So in the second half, when he didn't want to press, all we did is Dan Burn just held the ball at his feet and just say, come to me, come and press me. And then he just shifted it to Schär or to Matty Targett. And what that did, it gave everyone else in the team just that couple of minutes of just rest, get themselves kind of recovered, rejuvenated, back in position, and then we went again. He controlled that game. He was brilliant. He was so good.
You can see the leadership coming as well, Pete. I watched him quite closely second half, and the amount of verbalization he was given to that back line was very, very impressive. But I must also say, I thought Matty Targett was class today as well, by the way.
As well, yeah.
His defensive play, his holding the line, playing alongside, getting up and down the pitch when he needed to. His fitness was outstanding. Great defensive, few times body on the line. Listen, if we, I know we obviously want to go on to bigger and better things, but he's somebody, if we can get a deal for, I'd be looking to get him on the.
He's solid.
Get him in the team. Yeah, he's brilliant.
The way that Villa are playing at the moment with Luca Dean in the team, you would think they'd do the smart thing and keep hold of him. But he is a player that at 26 years old would be an absolute no-brainer to get him in on a permanent deal. The other two players I would just say, besides the obvious, because you talked about Chris Wood, I would love again to see how many aerial duels he won today. He won everything in there. Kurt Zouma was dreadful, and that was down to how well Wood played. Wood played on him on purpose. But the other two players are actually the two players that we kind of hammered. And I don't know if you saw the tweets that were going around that Craig Dawson actually put a complaint into the referee about the fact that every time Zuma went near the ball or got the ball, that Chris Wood was shouting or screaming meow to him. We were chanting Kurt Zuma chants in the stands, which actually made the West Ham fans laugh, but it was clearly getting to Zuma because Zuma had an absolute shocker of a game today. But the other two players I'm going to mention are actually the two players we hammered in the first half, and that's Kraft and Jacob Murphy. I actually thought Kraft come back from a really difficult first half and actually played better in the second half. The players trusted him more with the ball. He got a lot more wider space. He got some balls into the box with a couple of decent crosses he put in the second half that players weren't anticipating and getting on the end of. And Jacob Murphy, and I don't know whether the players talked to him at halftime or Eddie Howe or a mixture of both, but he must have been told to simplify his game, because Jacob Murphy in game, tactically and positionally, is no good. He's just not. And it's very obvious that tactically he is not a guy that understands what he needs to do in game. But if you give him the ball and just tell him to run at a defender and push him the other way, I think he won 2 or 3 corners in the second half, and he created 2 or 3 other moments in that second half just by getting the ball and just running. Like, it's like old, typical, classic Sunday league football. Get the ball, run. Get the ball, run. Just run at him. But you know what? It worked. And actually, what it did, it pushed West Ham back, and he created 4, 5, 6 moments in the second half on the back of just really simplifying his game. So you know what? Fair play, because it's easy to hammer players, and when a player has a really bad first half, it's not always easy to come back and have a better second half. And I'm not saying they were world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, they weren't, but they improved as a player in the second half, which ultimately helped the team because the team weren't having to then cover their arses all the time.
So, Richie, your thoughts on the second half?
It wasn't as good as the first half. I think it was just. I think the first half was a fantastic display of what the Premier League is all about, especially for a neutral as well, and actually for us for a change. I thought, even though we weren't behind, I still thought we were the best team in the first half and throughout the game. To be fair, so second half, it was a bit dull. It was funny actually. Pete going on about Murphy there, because I'm sure he said in the chat that Murphy just needs to get his head down and run, because there was quite a few times we'd been talking in the chat actually about how on the transition we were quite slow, and I thought Murphy was actually probably guilty of that most. He tended to get the ball, just over the halfway line, and he sort of like tried to hold the ball up a bit more and like get more people forward, but that also allowed West Ham to get back as well. When you actually tell him to get on his bike and push into the corner, a bit like what ASM tends to do, he gets the ball, carries it, likes to attack the defenders. Yeah. It causes problems for them as well, but it also creates space as well for the runners who are coming through, rather than just having to like drop back and then have a nice sideways ball or try to switch play, however you want to do it. So yeah, he did improve towards the second half of the second half. Regards, you talked about Chris Wood. Yes, we didn't deliver balls from that he can attack. We're still not playing to his strengths. I think one of the things they were saying with having Murphy on and having 2 out-and-out wingers, the balls that we're getting in for them weren't really good balls. We talked in our WhatsApp chat and said that, but probably the best cross of the game was actually Wood in the first half. Yeah, and nobody gambled on it, and it was Wood actually putting the ball in. And I think that's goes to show where Murphy kicked. Because Murphy had a really bad first half, and I think if he had that strike and killing instinct, he would have attacked that ball a bit like Craig Dawson did for their goal. He made that run he made, and he went all out to get on the end of that ball, and that's what Murphy should have been doing for that ball. And I don't know whether he just didn't think Chris was going to get a ball in or what, but he should still gamble on that, and he would have been easy to get in front of the defender, a bit like Craig Dawson, because he wouldn't have been expecting the run to come from behind him. It would have been an easy tap in for Jacob Murphy. So that's probably part of the game he needs to work on, I think. But I thought, defensively, we look really solid. Dan Burn has been a revelation. A lot of people have commented in the chat like we talked about as well. Brighton haven't been the same since Dan Burns left. I know that they were missing Lewis Dunk today as well, but to get obliterated by Burnley at home is poor going by Brighton standard. But Dan Burn, the Blythe Bonucci is because I love that mind. I absolutely think that's class.
I've stolen that from somebody else, so I do apologise. I apologise.
You can claim it, mate. But no, I really like the Blythe Bonucci. That's class. That's going to stick. And there's going to be a war flags of that next week or something. The next home game. But I think you're right, though. That centre back partnership Shaw and Byrne have got is fantastic. And just as we pass it back, I want to pass it back to Daz actually, because we've all been, said that there's a player in Shaw. He's a World Cup, he's a international for Switzerland, played at numerous major tournaments. But Daz never rated Shaw, so I want to know what Daz thinks of this new partnership in Shaw. Okay. Is he going to be able to do a Martin and say "not my captain" sort of thing and make an apology if he's a good performance? Or
no, Shar is playing really well. Where Shar was good under Rafa, then he got bruised, and that changed my opinion of Shar. I was just thought, okay. And when he was playing, then I remember him going in with the stupid tackle and getting injured and being out for weeks and weeks when we really needed him, and he really pissed me off. But yeah, he's been brilliant, and there's talk now. I know his contract's coming to an end. Do we give him another contract? He's at the age now that he's got one big contract in him left. Do we give him that contract, or because we're going to go big in the summer as long as we stay up, which we should do. We're going to go big in the summer anyway. So I suppose he's in that mind as well. If he signs a long term contract. Is he going to be playing? So, but at the moment, yeah, definitely he's playing brilliant. Hasn't put a foot wrong, to tell you the truth. So I've got nothing but good things to say about Char, and I have good things to say about Wood when it comes in terms of holding up the ball, because he's the other player I've slagged off. But it's putting the ball in the back of the net. He's a striker. That's what he's paid to do. That's what we brought him in to do. So. Yeah, and as I agree, he put in the best cross of the game, but yeah, he just needed. If he was at the end of his own cross, he would have missed it. He would have fluffed it, because that's what he's got no confidence or something like that. But I think in time, look, Eddie Howe has worked the magic on so many players. He can work the magic on Chris Wood as well. By the time Wilson is coming back, we'll be saying, "Will Wilson get back in the team?" How will work the magic? That's what I'm hoping tonight. That answer your question, Rich.
The question for Chris Wood is, you have to look at the way that Eddie Howe's playing is maybe he hasn't been brought in specifically just to only score goals.
Ooh.
But if you look at say for example Josh King at Bournemouth, he wasn't the guy to score goals. He got on the end of some, and he scored a few goals in there. He had one or two decent seasons, but ultimately he was brought in to do the job that Wood is doing to allow Callum Wilson to score the
decoy as such.
He was exactly, but we're just missing Callum Wilson at the moment to get on the end of.
You've got nobody off his shoulder, which is what we're lacking. Which is what we said the other week, which is somebody like ASM or Willock gambling off the shoulder of Wood to go through that middle, because he's winning so many knock-ons. He did the same again today, but again, we just didn't have that pace in and around him. But I don't know. Look.
If we continue to get so many different goal scorers scoring goals, so by Trippier, okay, we've had Saint-Maximin recently, we've had Willock more recently, as in today. There's been one or two others that have scored goals. Well, I say Lascelles, but it was the own goal. With that, Ryan Fraser as well against Everton. With that, are we really bothered? The fact that Wood's not scored, if we're still creating chances and scoring goals on the back of it that are picking up points, are we really that bothered? He hasn't really had many clear-cut chances. He had one against Everton. I think he had the shot from about 25 yards out against Villa, which probably should have laid off for Fraser. Other than that, he hasn't really had any.
He hasn't had many chances, no.
So it's
you can't feed off scraps and expect him to be scoring every second game. So you have to be fair to him.
Fifth game.
And he's not an on the ground ball played through the middle of the park type of striker. He's not. He's an aerial combatant.
Different style. Look, let's see. I'm still giving him a chance, and I want him to score. I'm just encouraging him. Okay, but then
I tell you what, though, that back four. Sorry, Dazzler. It does now raise a very good question, which is how does Lascelles get back into that team? Because he shouldn't.
He doesn't. He doesn't get back. Look, is any one of us four thinking that Lascelles should be brought in against Brentford? Be honest.
Absolutely not. No.
Anyone in the chat, put it on there if you think Lascelles should be in the team against Brentford on Saturday. There is no chance, in my opinion.
No, you have to keep.
The only thing missing from that back four is Kieran Trippier.
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah.
Simple as
exactly,
that.
Yeah.
Or Mankilio.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we get Manquillo back and Kraft out, but then I'd be extremely happy with that back four. There's no way I'd be breaking that up.
Look, we're at the full time, and I want to play.
Yeah.
I want to play one of Pete's videos from the end of the game, and Pete signing autographs and things like that.
How am I? Fucking get in there. Well, support you evermore. Those that team for United. Those that team your door. I'll play back right now with your right. Well, support you evermore. Those that team for United. Those that team your door. I'll play back right now with your right. Well, support you evermore. Those that team for United. Those that team your door. I'll play back right now with your right. Well, support evermore. Those that team for Get in there! Come on! Brilliant point. Right.
Peter, I'm Johnny listening to you all the way through. Have you got your badges? Some sort of coat or something?
Deadly. Sign my face,
Brilliant.
Pete.
The guy in front is actually a fan of the show, and he was talking to me
nice.
for the game to say that obviously he called me and said, "Oh, yeah, I watch your shows, like well done to us and what we're doing," which was fantastic. But I didn't realise how much I talked through the game, like literally like tactics and players because he mentioned it. But no, it was it's a horrible stadium. Oh my God, I don't want to go back there anytime soon.
So far away from the pitch.
It's not even that. Like it's just a horrible looking. Outside, it looks fantastic. It looks like a proper stadium. You go inside, it does not look like a proper stadium at all. And there's no atmosphere. I will put this on record. West Ham were the worst home fans I have ever been to in my 30 plus years of watching football. They are the worst fans that I've ever seen. They were awful. Absolutely awful. And you know what? You wouldn't have seen it on the TV, but there are so many empty seats. Whether they gave it 60,000 for away fans, I have no idea. But there were definitely not 60,000 fans in that stadium.
No. You could see it on the game today when you were watching. There was commentators said, it's good to see the ground so full. A few empty seats, but it's looking great. There was empty seats everywhere when they were panning around. BT are just full of shit.
Their owners are doing exactly what Mike Ashley used to do. They might not have actually had 60,000 attendance, but they'll have counted all the season ticket holders or people who bought tickets that didn't turn up. That's why they'll be seeing it as 60, but there wasn't 60,000 there.
Exactly what they did, because it was a disgrace. Honestly, we did not hear the only type of chant at all that we heard was basically the celebration for the goal. That is all we heard from West Ham fans throughout the whole game. The whole game. Like, it was so bad. We've been in the Championship and been to better grounds and better atmospheres. It was embarrassing. A team that were fourth in the league, the team that are in Europe at the moment, that half couldn't even bother to turn up to a game, a home game. And secondly, they didn't even support their fans. It was embarrassing.
It's just right what some monkey suit's saying here, and I was about to say it as well. You could only hear the Newcastle fans on the telly, and I don't know whether Daz and Martin heard that as well, but I could only ever hear the Newcastle fans chanting from watching the TV.
That's all I could hear. I could hear Pete all right.
It was frustrating.
Fucking get in!
It was frustrating though, because obviously with the away fans, we like to kind of chant together as one. And because we're literally split into two, so you could see on the video, you've got the first group of fans right at the front in their little stand there. and then there's the rest of us at the top. So we're kind of like chanting 2 songs at the same time. And you can see the fans during the game, the ones right at the top of the front stand are looking back to hear what we're saying so they can kind of do it in tandem. So you can't even get the away fans up in tune, even though we're trying to.
Yeah.
It was only the new Bruno song that we actually both sets sung at the same time, which is basically the old Matt Ritchie song, but with Bruno and Arsenal kind of thrown into it.
I think the thing with the West Ham fans, I mean, you're in London. They were probably all at the Chelsea game.
Yeah, hold your hats on a new Bruno chant though, because I've sent a new Bruno chant to Newcastle NUFC chants that are just going through the regulators at the moment. So hopefully we hear a new Bruno chant soon that I can maybe take a little bit of credit for. So
cool. Nice one. Richie, will we take some of the questions, or will we go for our man of the match?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it's there's a few like points and stuff there really. Kamal put in there. He said a neutral told him after the game about playing J7 Almiron for Murphy and Bruno in the J7 place. You know, like that was something we talked about in our WhatsApp chat today about possibly playing him out there. Phil just wanted to give a shout out to Simon, that he got his Shy Burns t-shirt today. Quality product and sensible sized, not like Castor. Obviously, I saw Pete laugh at this, so I thought I'd put it up. Anyone seen Trippy's Instagram story of Burns or Fraser calling Fraser Burns massive? Go on, Pete, what's that about, mate?
I've seen 2 from Trippier. There was one about the 2 heights of Fraser and Burn.
Who put them together?
Who put them together? And then there was another one where like Fraser's in kind of like a baby suit in front of Burn, and he's kind of like obviously Fraser's asked as the baby. I was laughing at that because that was what I had in my mind. Maybe I'm wrong, but they were the 2 that I saw that I just thought they were funny as.
Yeah, some monkey suit again saying that he's trying to take credit for Dan Burn because he's born at Ashington Hospital, so he's claiming that one. If that's the case, some monkey suit, and so am I, because I was born at Ashington Hospital as well, along with the Charltons and the Milburns, so I'll take credit for that one as well. And both the next ones are both on Fabian Schär. Simon just touched going a bit more. Would you reckon he'll be offered a new contract before the end of the season? Yes, I personally do. I think he will. I think he'd be mad to leave, especially with the faith that Eddie Howe's shown in him. But they also want to turn around and say how about Lascelles come back in and Schär play at right back. We discussed that last night on the show, and we basically said, you know, we're putting players in the right positions now. We're not playing position, you know, putting square pegs and round holes and stuff like that. Lascelles will only come back in my opinion, if it's an injury to someone, or he decides to possibly play a change of formation, which I can't see this season. This season, he will be working in this formation because it's what the players are now used to, and it's getting results.
And Richie, you know I think Manquillo is back for the next game. As far as
fingers crossed.
Yeah. So
the one thing I'll say on that is that I think Eddie Howe would much rather go to a 3-5-2 than actually put someone in at right back who's not a right back. So he would much rather have Jacob Murphy as a right wing back or Ryan Fraser as a right wing back than have him as a right back. So like that's the other alternative of the formation. If Kraft gets injured, Manquillo's not fit for next week, I think he'll go to a back 3. That's the only way Lascelles gets back in the team, in my opinion.
Although nice to know that Fernandez was back in the squad today, so he doesn't necessarily need to put Lascelles in there.
Yeah,
anyway, you can't have him in, Martin. It's a bonus.
No, listen. Last week against Villa, he was outstanding. Some of the tackles and stuff. So listen, I give the guy credit where credit is due. But for me, the issue with Lascelles for me is he's error prone. So one good game out of a multiple for me is not good enough.
It was Everton, I think.
Sorry, Everton. Yeah. So the partnership there that seems to be blooming between Dan Burn and Schär, it's working. Any good team that wants to keep consistency keeps the players in that are performing well. So for me, you don't break that up. You wait. Hopefully, you get Trippier back in at some point, but definitely get Manquillo back in there. That's your back 4.
Lascelles can't play football. It's as simple as that.
No, exactly.
And we just talked about earlier on in the show how confident Burn and Shaw both are on the ball. I talked about like how you could see in the second half that they were both kind of slowing down the play in order for our players because they're confident on the ball. They know
it's knowing when to hold and when to go.
But that's a footballing brain.
It is.
You can be a tough tackler, you can be good and big and strong in the air, but that's Championship and League One defending. Like you can get away with it there and not be a good footballer. In the Premier League, you got to have both of those attributes, but also be able to play football as well. That's what makes you a Premier League player, and that's the difference between Dan Burn and Jamal Lascelles. That's the difference between Freddie Fernandez and Jamal Lascelles. So I think you're right, Mark. You're absolutely right. I think Freddie Fernandez, if 100% fit, which I'm sure he is, he comes ahead of Jamal Lascelles. That he does.
I tell you what, lads, and I don't know about what anyone else thinks, but if Dan Burn keeps playing the way he is, it wouldn't surprise me if he's on the verge of an England call-up. We've always said that we haven't really got a decent left-sided centre-half. You know, currently, when we play three at the back, you have Tyrone Mings go in there. And we all know what he's like. You know, we saw it firsthand last week. He was appalling. Dan Burn got the better on him when we were when they were attacking and when we were attacking. So, you know, watch the space. And I think this could be the first time we've predicted Dan Burn for England for the World Cup.
I'll happily take the 12 million we spent on Dan Burn and the 80 million that Man United spent on the fridge.
Look, if Tyrone Mings can get in the England squad as a left-sided centre-back, Dan Burn's a shoo-in. Because at the moment, and even before he signed for Newcastle, Dan Burn was playing significantly better than Tyrone Mings. Tyrone Mings has had a honking season. He's been shocking. He's been awful. Exactly. He was awful again.
Mings by name, Mings by nature.
Literally. Like, so literally, it's a great shout.
On that note, lads, let's look at our man of the match. And before I do, make sure, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, bottom right-hand corner, red button, and also hit that like button as well. Helps us push us further up the rankings and get this video and our channel out to more and more people. So, man of the match, I'm going to go first. And it touches on some of the points you made here as well. For me, and before he even scored the goal in the first half, it was Willock. And then in the second half, okay, Willock tired a bit, so I've changed it. And Burn was solid throughout the game, and some of his stats were amazing that I've put up earlier. And just, you know, it was between it. Okay, Targett and Joe Linton as well were notable mentions. But it was between Burn and Willock, and for me, Burn is going to get it for that last-ditch tackle when Kraft was off the pitch, and he just who was it? Oh, it was Bowen. Bowen. He cleared, yeah, love that. That was brilliant. So yeah, he gets my man of the match. Burn. Martin.
Yeah, listen, I think Burn's a really, really good shout, but I think for the goal and for the absolute workhorse of a performance and seeing him come back on form, I'm going to give it to Joe Willock. I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch today. He made Declan Rice look very, very tatty. So yeah, Joe Willock for me. Thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree with Mark in my opinion. I think Joe Willock was very, very good, but I just love the shithousery of Dan Burn.
I put that out on Twitter earlier on today. It said, just love Dan Burn. He's every kind of shithouse you want. Take that, Bowen, you little C.
That's the new Newcastle though. Like, he knew he was never getting to that ball. He knew that he was going to be cleaning out Bowen, but he wanted to make a point as if to say, "You're not getting by me, and I'm here." I'm here to make sure you don't play today.
We said this a couple of weeks ago. We saw it against Everton, Villa, and today. Newcastle are now very tactical that if they get away, they're taking one for the team. They're making cynical fouls
Fraser
to break
as well.
Play.
Fraser did it today,
yeah.
I think Ryan Fraser started it off on the halfway line and just cleaned the guy out.
Injured himself.
And I looked at the guy next to me. I said, "Here's the shithousery. It started. And it did.
It's clever. It's clever. It really is. You are taking for a team in a position where it's not going to affect them from the free kick, unlike the Kraft one. But it slows them down. You get bodies behind the ball. So I'd happily take that. Two bookings per game. But if players doing that, if we're caught out of position and there's a risk to conceding on the break.
Man City have been doing it for 7 years and nobody's blinked an eyelid. So why can't we do the same?
Because I don't want us to stay in the Premier League. That's why, Pete.
Yeah, you do, but they might not have a choice.
They might not. You're right.
Richie, your man of the match.
I think Pete went with Willock. For me, it was a toss-up between Willock and Byrne. After Byrne got it last week, so I'll probably go with Willock on this one. I think, outstanding first half performance. He was just tremendous. The energy and the confidence that he's going with at the minute. He was driving the team forward today. We've been using ASM as that over recent weeks and season. I think he tried to take that on his back that he was missing, so he was trying to make the runs going forward and carrying the team up the pitch. Second half he still tried to do it as well. He was, the amount of times he was getting the better of Declan Rice, as we've already touched on. So yeah, Willock for me deserved it. Got his goal that he deserved as well. Notable mentions for me: Shaw, Targett, and Fraser as well. I thought they all had decent games as well.
Cool. Good shout, Richie. Let's look at the table before we bring the night to a close. So here it is. We're sitting pretty on 22 points now after 24 games. It's always nice to have played 24, got 24 points to kind of keep that level consistency there, and then we're all looking safe enough. Yes, it's changed a bit, lads. I know in our WhatsApp there was a bit of talk about that. The games went on today. Who'd like to comment on the table?
I think bottom 7 now, as we said in the chat, was the 7 points separating Brentford and Norwich now. You look at the form table. Newcastle have got the most form out of the bottom 7. So Norwich have got second most wins there. Everyone else has got Leeds have got a couple of wins in there as well. But if you look noticeably, we're the only team that hasn't got a loss out of that bottom 7. That's momentum, and that was what we said last night. It was important that we didn't lose today. It's something to build on for next week. A really, really pivotal game next week against Brentford, which could see us jump up to 14th if results go our way. Everton next week, I think they're there at Man City next week, so they've got a real tough one next week. I think Leeds have got a tricky fixture next week as well, I think. So there's a very, very good chance if we win next week, we're up to 14th. Obviously, you look at that, that puts 22, 8 points between us and Norwich if Norwich were to lose. Hopefully, obviously, Burnley have got a game during the week against Spurs. You would like to think that Spurs can carry on what they've done to Man City tonight, and they've won at the Etihad, so hopefully they can go to Turf Moor and get 3 points and do us a favour. You what, sorry, Pete?
Leeds have Spurs next Saturday.
Yep, so hopefully Spurs can do us a favour on 2 fronts next week then. But obviously, the only thing is with Spurs is they're very, very hit and miss at the minute. But if they play like they did today against Man City, then this time next week we could be really laughing.
I think, do you know what it is? I look at that table and I think, do you know what? If I was an Everton fan, I'd be starting to get worried because they have not got great fixtures coming up. Their last 5 includes the Merseyside derby, plus City, plus a couple of others. Not easy fixtures in that running, and their form is dreadful. I would love to see them relegated. I really would. I would love to see them drag. And there's nothing in it. They can. There's still teams can drag that into that, but I think we've got enough quality, and we get the likes of ASM back into it and everything else. I think we survive. We've got the best.
This Brentford game is absolutely massive for us, and it's one we should be winning. Big one next weekend.
I think let's just hope that ASM's that the knock's not as bad as what they first thought, and they just literally took it as a precaution because they're so vital the game next week. So even if he's perhaps like only 80-90% fit, we've got a break the week after because we're not in the FA Cup. So it gives another week to rest and before we start the March fixes with Brighton.
Yeah. Nice.
And let's hope that Big Dan Burns smashes the fuck out of Ivan Toney.
If he plays, because he hasn't. I don't know if he played today because of his comments on that Instagram thing where he said that.
Yeah, I don't know, Pete. I didn't check that team, mate. To be honest,
no, he wasn't. It was Wisser and Bueno up front.
Yeah, that's why.
So whether they bring him back for this game because they know how big it is, or whether they keep him out the team, who knows?
Tony wasn't even in the squad apparently, according to the net. He was missing with a calf injury, so we'll see.
I'm not sure about that. It would surprise me if he's back in the squad next weekend, but it could also bring a little bit of negativity, because if he comes back for his first game and he gets booed by the fans, that could play into our hands, really. So look, Ivan Toney's not playing well anyway. At the moment, he hasn't.
I think the one thing we've got to be concerned, I know we'll touch on it on away days and Mag next week, is the potential of Christian Eriksen coming for his debut, because that will give Brentford a boost and the home crowd a boost as well.
Cool. Well, lads, we'll round out the show. Just want to say, if you haven't caught the shows from during the week, we had away days with Dan Lawless. We had Loaded Mag last night, and coming up on Tuesday, we have Kieran Maguire back with us to talk about our actions in the transfer window and much more. Some of the things that he's been putting out on Twitter as well. A link to Newcastle, and as we touched on last night, about the renaming of St. James Park, potentially what Newcastle could make from that. So that's one topic we'll touch on with Kieran. Right, that's it, lads. I think we'll give people a bit of bonus footage with Pete and at the game as well. We'll end out with that. But thanks to everyone for watching, and we march on. We were missing ASM, Wilson, Trippier, and our replacement right back in Manquillo today against the top side, pushing for the top four, and we got a draw. So away from home. So that's not too bad, lads. It's all positive. The run continues. Much to look forward to. Onwards to Brentford, and hopefully 3 points there. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for watching.
Take care.
Really good. Really appreciate it. He's good with Mark on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Are you following me?
I think so, yeah.
I'll follow you back. Get in there, boys! Massive point there. Massive point. Well fucking deserved as well. Getting a little bit tasty over there, boys. Getting a little bit tasty over there. Oh look, someone's climbing over. Tasty. Get in.